Mm. Who do you guys play this Wednesday?
We play Springfield.
Okay. Should that be a good
Yeah.
game or?
Should be an interesting game due to the fact of Fahim is gonna be playing main tank and I will be playing off tank
Interesting.
because Mustafa cannot make the game, and I honestly do not want to leave it up to an FF.
Sure. Sure.
I'd rather us try than not.
Yeah. How solid is the other school?
They're about a 3.5 average, but
Okay.
they don't have very good coaching from what I've heard.
Gotcha. What is your guys' average overall, would you say?
Overall, I would say we're around 3.1, 3.2.
Okay. Nice.
We've had the fortunate opportunity of having Naperville North's JV team as a consistent scrum partner.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Because their varsity team's pretty good, aren't they?
their varsity team is right around 3.8, 3.9.
Yeah. Gotcha. I know your matches that you guys are playing in, is that through like the Illinois State League or like the high school Illinois High School Esports League or?
It's through IHSCA.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I thought.
But they are hosting the matches through UGC, so scores are there and such.
Oh, okay. What does Noah Oxide play? Was he one of the other sport players?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. What does No? I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Oh, Hayden.
Noxide play? Hayden.
He's Toji. Toji.
Oh, okay.
Lucio, Anna,
Gotcha. So
mostly
he's
that.
the main support player. Okay. Well, I guess main and
Yeah.
flex. I guess.
We're trying to work him on to BAP as well in case we need like BAP Zen
Sure.
for certain comps.
So many different things you can do.
Lamp is too broken for its own good.
Yeah, BAP is pretty strong. Pretty strong. All right. I think we'll probably get started here, and I'll let those other two hop in hopefully in a minute when they can get here. So the first thing I wanted to cover is just looking at a few things, just big picture wise, that we're doing well and things we need to work on. Kind of set up what we're going to cover today. So I asked you guys at the opening of yesterday pre-scrim, kind of what you think you needed to work on. What was your biggest issue? And you said communication. Felt like you guys weren't always on the same page and have trouble establishing a good tempo. Does that kind of sound correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So the what I really loved and appreciated about that answer at the end of the scrim was that I think you guys are correct. I think you have correctly identified what your biggest issue is, which is great because a lot of teams, when I ask that question, will give an answer and then I'll watch them play and it's like, okay, that's peanuts compared to what the real problem is. So the good thing is you guys are already aware of what the problem is. Now it's just figuring out the solution, which is the tricky bit, but not terribly tricky. So now we just got to talk over what the solution is and implement it. So, but things that I do think you guys are doing pretty well right now. You're pretty good at information calls or info calls, like to call them. You're pretty good at giving one another information, whether it's cooldowns, enemy positions, opportunities you can capitalize on. So that's good. Like your mid-fight info calls are pretty decent. Individually, I feel like you guys are actually pretty decent as far as individual mechanics and playmaking. Like you have some talented players, like obviously Borka Timothy, right?
Yeah, Timothy.
Okay. He's very mechanically strong. So you have a great mechanical DPS player in that sense. Joe, your flex DPS play yesterday was really solid as well. Like your main tank player, honestly, is pretty talented. You know, a few things obviously to work on, but you guys have strong individual pieces like up and down the board. It's just figuring out some more of these macro things to put them all together. And obviously, individually, there's plenty of things you can work on as well. But I don't think you need to be worried about mechanical or anything like that. Like those things will come with time, and you guys have the talent to make that happen. So, big picture, things that we need to work on then, communication is first and foremost. And there's kind of two pieces to that. There's a few communication things, and then there's kind of this idea of what are the fundamentals of Overwatch, which I'll explain in a second. So, what is the goal of communication? Why do we communicate? What are some of the value we get from that in Overwatch specifically?
So we can plan and initiate stuff
So you,
to win the fight before the enemy team.
so you can plan and initiate to win the fight before the enemy team. Okay. What else? What are some of the other purposes or goals or benefits of good communication?
With good communication comes being able to see things from all angles, being it coming from our back line, our front line, or even from each side.
Sure. Increases overall team awareness. Yep. Yep. Anything else? Okay, those are some good starting points. One of the other key purposes of communication is confidence, right? If when you're communicating with one another, it allows you to be on the same page, and so it allows you to play with confidence, and that'll feed into the big issue that we'll talk about in a second. So before we get into that, the first thing that we need to do as far as fixing some basic communication things is just clearing up clutter. Right now, there's just excess comms, things that are being said that aren't helpful and don't need to be said. So there are two basic communication rules as far as what you don't say is almost, if not more important than what you do say. So I'll just kind of throw these in chat real quick here.
Do you like record them?
Uh,
Like our comms?
I did, yeah, yep.
Oh, nice.
So there are two things in particular that like you guys can work on as far as communication goes. So most importantly, like don't say anything that isn't immediately useful to your team. Yesterday there was a lot of just excess stuff that people are saying that isn't helpful, like, oh shoot, I missed this, or this didn't happen, or especially after someone died, they would keep talking or saying things that weren't at all helpful for like while 4 or 5 other people are still trying to win a fight. So as a team, one thing you can all definitely work on is clearing up the clutter, as I like to call it. Just getting rid of all the fluff that isn't helpful to your teammates. And then the other thing, which was less frequent of an issue, but still coming up on occasion, was just no mid-map big picture discussions. Obviously, like between rounds and between maps, sure, talk things over to a limited extent. The best place to talk over big picture things is in reviews like this, but definitely not during fights or between fights is not when you want to have those discussions, because there's just not time. And even if you talk over things, you won't remember because you're too busy doing too many other things. So those are the two things communication wise to start off with, and then which leads us into the overall main big picture thing that I want to cover today. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay.
Are we gonna watch your recordings today or just have VOD reviews?
We'll look at this real quick, and then we'll look at some clips from the recordings. We won't go into Overwatch and the replay codes hardly at all. So this is kind of a little, I know it's kind of interesting big picture thing, but how to win Overwatch. It's kind of just a basic overview of the 3 major fundamentals of how Overwatch works. And the first one of these is the thing we're working on today. So I'll run through this relatively quickly. I know slideshows, you probably get enough of this in class and all that, but this will be really key and helpful for you guys. So big picture, Overwatch is all about creating pressure. If you can create more pressure than the enemy team, you will win. So the question becomes, how do you create pressure? What are our modes of creating pressure? These are the three main things, three main fundamentals of Overwatch: planning, timing, and positioning. If you can work up these three fundamentals to a high level, you will excel at the game of Overwatch, because that's all it takes to win. Individual mechanics and things like that can easily be overridden if you have better team play, and team play is made up of these three components. So my collegiate team currently, SR average wise, is probably a little bit lower than you guys, but I would probably favor them in a matchup right now because their team play is better. But I think you guys, if you could get to the same level of team play, would probably put up a really good shot and potentially take stuff off them, because like I mentioned at the start, you guys have a lot of good talent. We're kind of
that makes sense.
Yeah, and we're kind of in a rebuilding phase right now. So planning is the main thing that I want to talk about. Right now, your team's biggest issue is that most often heading into fights, we don't have a clear plan of what we're going to do, where we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it. That's your biggest issue right now, because these three fundamentals, they go in order. Planning is most important, timing is next most important, and then positioning, while important, is of least important compared to the other two. It has to go in order. You need a plan, you need good timing, and then you need to worry about positioning. So I want to talk over a little bit about what makes up a good plan. That's kind of that A box right there. You know, a full plan, a good quality plan includes what are we doing, where are we doing it, and then when are we doing it. Kind of gets into timing a little bit, but that's still a component of a good plan. So those are the three main things. Different types of plans, right? The most common things that probably come to mind, things that people are usually pretty good at, are that second point, that alt-based plans, right? But you can have plans just based on neutral, based on cooldowns, based on positioning. So for example, of a neutral play style, if you're playing Brawl or Rush, right, you're playing Lucio, Bap, McCree, May, Rhine, Diva, or Rhine, Zarya. What is your, in a neutral fight, first fight of the map, what is your plan to win the enemy fight? It's a Brawl mirror, let's say, right?
Look for May wall and speed in.
Yeah, look for May wall and capitalize on that. That's the basic plan. No ultimates. I mean, it's cooldown based, obviously, but that's like the overall basic play style. Plan with that comp is look for walls. Yeah, did you have a question?
No, my Discord wasn't working for a second.
Oh, okay, you're good. Couple other, how about just like thinking about dive in general? Like, what's the neutral plan of dive? What's the neutral play style of dive? What are you looking for? What's your basic plan?
For dive, usually you want to pressure squishies. You want to take people off high ground if they're on high ground. You want to you just want to apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure their backline.
Pressure
Yeah,
backline.
especially their backline squishies.
Yeah, stage a dive on vulnerable squishies, right? And then try to collapse on them from multiple angles. That's like neutral playstyle of dive. Often alt-based plans and cooldown-based plans, they typically don't change the neutral plan or the play style. They just enhance it, right? Like think about Nanoblade with dive. Does that really change the neutral play style of dive?
No, you just
No.
have an ult to use during the fight.
Yeah,
That will
exactly.
Make it easier.
Exactly. It just makes your play style even stronger. So typically ults will not change how you play. It just makes what you do even better. It may change some small things like where you play, or you can get away with more, but that's the basic bit. So a lot of different ways you can make plans, and we'll look at a few of those. I'm going to run through these really quick so you know about them for the future, but we're really only concerned with planning today. My team this semester, we spent like the first 5 to 6 weeks just on planning, like drilling this hard 5 days a week in practice, until they got consistent with going into every fight with a plan. So yeah, before I move forward, I guess, why do you think having a plan before every fight is important? Like, why is this the number one thing?
sort of like having a plan. It centralizes. It's sort of like the team is that if you have a plan, your team's gonna play together. If
Hmm.
you don't have a plan, your team is like each person's gonna be doing something else, and then you're not gonna be nearly as effective.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It gives you the ability, if everyone's on the same page and there's no question of what's going to happen, like everyone's confident. It's like, okay, I know what my job is. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what we're doing. It allows everyone to play together, as you said, to be on the same page. And importantly, too, like what we're looking for with planning is it gives us the best chance of controlling the first 5 to 10 seconds of a fight. That's what we're looking for, because after the first 5 to 10 seconds, fights just devolve. If they last longer than that, usually they're decided in the first 5 to 10 seconds. But if it goes longer than that, typically just comes down to info calls and action calls as opposed to planning. But planning is say, hey, can we give ourselves the best chance of success heading into this fight? It's a good. Okay. So timing is the second thing, and a clear signal to go ties into the last piece of planning that I kind of mentioned, the what, where, and when. So with timing, the idea is everyone needs to be doing something at the same time. And I have that note in there about even if it's not the same thing. A big trap that teams fall into is target focus. Like, oh, our target focus isn't good enough. We're not focusing down our target. But if the goal is pressure, tell me this. Going back to our example of rush mirror, if our McCree is on an off angle and we're trying to kill their Reinhardt, is it better for him to shoot the Rhine or to shoot the Baptiste that's trying to pocket the Rhine?
What?
The Baptiste.
Yeah. Why?
It's creating pressure on the Bap, so he's either going to try and focus the Mercury that's shooting him back off, or he's forced to lamp himself or use his shift, which is both CDs,
Mm-hmm.
or he's gonna just ignore it and keep healing his Reinhardt.
Right. Right. One thing that, again, using my own team as an example, last year we ran into a lot was teams we played against would play Bap Ana. We had pretty good target focus, so we'd be playing a rush mirror, we'd be trying to focus down their Reinhardt, but he would just barely not die. He barely wouldn't go down because we're pouring 6 people into a Rhine, but he's got a Bap and an Ana pocket. Where, right, if we can create pressure on someone else or pressure on them to get them off of their Rhine, it just creates better opportunities. Like this is true of all compositions. Like if you put yourself in good positions and you have good timing, if everyone just shoots the most optimal or easiest person for them to hit, you'll just create enough pressure where it doesn't matter if you're shooting different people. Obviously, taken to that extreme, it can mess things up. But so timing is important. Everyone needs to be doing something at the same time. So, and the what that something is also key, right? If we're pushing in, everyone needs to be pushing in. If we're resetting, everyone needs to reset. You know, if we're backing or kiting, whatever it is, just the idea is that everyone needs to be on the same page doing something, even if it's not in the same place or on the same target. It's just everyone needs to be involved in what's happening. And then last thing is positioning, which is this whole giant own thing that we won't really talk about much, but it comes third and foremost, because even if our positioning is excellent, like why is timing more important than positioning? Let's take a
Well, I mean,
guess.
if timing is off, like it tends to happen a lot in our team.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is off, you could just into your Ryan and your Ryan's dead, fight's over.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Right?
if you have perfect positioning, but you take 6 1v6s, are you going to lose?
Of course.
Yes, exactly. So positioning is sub to timing. Timing is most important after the plan. So plan and timing is huge, and then positioning is kind of the icing on the cake to make those things even better. So that's I think that's everything I wanted to hit about through that. So that's the overall gist. But the thing we're working on here, talking about tonight, is planning. Good plan is what are we doing, where are we doing it, and when are we going to do it. So real quick, let's take a look at a couple examples of, maybe I can just keep sharing this, of good timing and bad timing. So most of what we're going to do the rest of the night is just kind of get better at identifying plans and at creating plans. So check my notes here. All right. Perfect. So this will be a good fight for us to look at. So this is an example of what we're looking for as far as planning goes. And let me know if you can hear the audio or not. I'll go here.
Thank you.
We could see your Discord.
I know angle.
You can see my Discord. Can you not see? Can you see the video here when I pull this up?
No.
I could hear
Nope.
myself.
No, you cannot. What? Hold on. Oh, I see. There we go. How about now?
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you see my cursor when I move it around?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear?
On you, Mustafa.
I have
I'm
Rally.
good here. Yeah, I can hear
Alright,
that.
nice. When they
Can you guys hear your
Yeah.
comms and the audio?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty then. So this is an example of one fight that I thought you guys did pretty well on. So we'll just kind of watch what happens and talk about it.
I have no angle on you, Mustafa.
I have
I'm good
Rally.
here. I'm good here.
Alright, nice. When they come to this choke, we rally them because they're probably gonna have slap.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
I don't have
These two.
bubble.
On the get, heal the get. Nice, huge rally.
Other
Huge
than,
rally.
oh, whoa, wait, I think they used
Nice,
dragon.
nice, nice.
Look at the run.
Okay, so that was an example of what went well, right? Did you guys kind of catch what happened and how that sequence of things went down? Why was that successful?
Yes.
We can't plan things.
Yeah. Yeah, you knew what
Our,
Yeah, go ahead.
our flex support told us whether or not he had an angle on us. And if he didn't, he told us. We communicated the fact that we had our one ult, which was Rally.
Mm-hmm.
And when we wanted to use it, and then when we went for a dive, we specified who we wanted to look at.
Sure. Good. Quick question before I move on. I forgot to cover this. So we talked about planning is important. We want to plan going into every fight. So here's a question for you then. If planning is so important, whose job is it to plan?
Like
Most
in our
of the
team or
time.
like hero based.
Like call rotations and stuff like that.
Um, yeah,
If you're talking ult tracking and ult planning,
Because alt tracking is usually
mhm.
me.
Not necessarily
Right,
tracking,
yeah.
but like, hey, what are we going to do, right? Because all tracking tells
usually-
you the status
Let
of some
me and
things,
Flame
but
do
like,
that.
yeah, it's
No, like,
usually
yeah, it's the
main
tanks.
tank.
yeah. So for you guys, it's usually the tanks. So typically, a lot of teams fall into that structure of, of one person kind of shot calling or planning. That's not necessarily bad, especially if you have one or two people who are really good at it or who are a lot higher ranked and with more knowledge and experience. But one thing that's kind of the way that modern Overwatch is played, the best teams, everyone plans, especially when it comes to their ultimates, this idea of personal responsibility, right? So if you're the monkey, let's say, should you be calling the setup for the high noon?
No.
No.
Yeah. Why not? Maybe.
Because it's not the monkey's job to take care of the team when that happens.
Sure.
Because
Okay.
you don't know where the Kree wants to set up to do his high noon. You don't know if he wants to set up in the middle of the field. Or
No
you
one
don't
knows
know if
that.
he
No
wants
one knows
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, you could tell
Only
him,
the
right?
Kree knows that.
Could the monkey tell them, agree, hey, I want you to go stand up there and a high noon from there when they come in? Like, could they do that technically?
could.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they
Okay. What's maybe not great about that though?
Like micromanage.
Yeah, it's micromanaging, right? And it's slow. If you try to do that, it's going to be slow, right? So when it comes to ultimates, especially, everyone has to exercise personal responsibility. I am responsible for what happens with my ultimate, and if we're going to use it, I need to call the plan, right? I need to say, here, hey, I want to rally around this corner when they push up, or hey, I want to nano monkey when he jumps in, or hey, I want to high noon this corner when they push, and here's what I want you guys to do when I do that. Because that's the other piece too. What do I want to do with my ultimate? What do I need you guys to do to support that play? And then when are we doing it? All right, I'm high nooning 3, 2, 1, and we all step forward. So that's kind of the breakdown as far as personal responsibility, especially with ultimates goes. with planning, it's kind of the same. Like anyone who has an idea can come up with a plan. Now you can have people who do it most of the time. When it comes to like rotations, it's good to have like your main tank call rotations physically, because again, physically, people need to follow the main tank. We want our tanks to open up to make space for the rest of the team, right? So if we're diving with Winston here, we ideally want our Winston to tell us, hey, I'm going to dive here. Here's where I'm looking to go, 3, 2, 1, or just, okay, diving. But everyone is capable of making a plan, right? And
Yeah.
our team has gotten better at this to the point of where like every single person on our team is good at coming up with ideas, and it allows people to be creative, and not everyone's going to have the same ideas or the same perspective. So don't be afraid to open that up to say, okay, whoever's got a plan. Typically you'll have enough ultimates to cycle through that most of your fights, right, will plan around ultimates anyway, but not always. So, and it's good to have, you know, some of those roles established, like ult tracking, shot calling, because that's different than planning necessarily, right? Shot calling, you know, setting up the staging, but
Yeah.
just wanted to cover that real
It's
quick.
so like, for example, like I think there's times in this scrim where people called for nano but never made sure that hide an angle. So
Yep.
I guess it's more my personal responsibility to like be like, hey, I've got it. But
Oh
like
yeah, I remember that.
I remember like Alex Dragonbladed and I wasn't around the corner.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Fahim called that.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think that's like a good
Fahim called the
example.
Dragon Blade. He
Right.
I
called
think
the
that's a good
Dragon Blade.
example.
Right. And that's honestly, yeah, that is a really good example of why calling other people's ultimates is suboptimal, because you don't have their perspective. You're not seeing what they're seeing. You don't know what they know. And so that leads to miscommunication and mistiming, things like that. So that's a really good example. Now, obviously, the person who is receiving nano, you know, okay, calling for that is good, but if you're trying to set up a plan that relies on someone else's ultimate, like you have to make sure you're waiting for them and making sure they're on the same page. But right, when it's someone else trying to play middleman for those two people, that gets tricky. So good. Yeah, really good identification of kind of what we're looking at here. Okay.
I have just a question about
Yes.
like on a mechanics as a whole. If I have an alt combo, but let's say we have Dragon Blade up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Fahim jumps in, basically is about to die. Do I hit the monkey with that nano, or do I save it for a combo? Like, because it would be my personal responsibility with my alt to keep
Yep.
tanks alive. Usually, I'll just, if I see a tank get low, I'll hit him with the nano just to keep him up.
So I want to answer your question, but I'm going to flip it back around to you first. You tell me, what do you think?
Keeping a main tank alive is really essential, but that thing is that Dragon Blade could kill a whole team
Yeah.
because just of how good Nano Blade is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think you have your answer right there, right? So if the main tank dying, if Nanoblade can win the fight anyway, then just Nanoblade. But
yeah,
if you're not in a position to win the fight with Nanoblade, say your Genji's coming back from spawn and he's not there, and nanoing your monkey would win the team fight by keeping him alive and giving him extra pressure, then nano the monkey, you know?
yeah,
But
it's sort of like a situational thing.
Exactly. I mean, and it's the great cop out, but it's always almost true. It depends, right? If
Yeah,
you know, if you've got a really strong combo, but it's not relevant right now, then it doesn't matter. You know, if you're going to lose the fight anyway, if monkey dies, then there's no point in saving it. But if you can just nanoblade and win anyway, okay, then sure, just let the monkey die and nanoblade. So
I think during this game we talked over a lot of alt tracking, and it was really apparent. Like we nano and Dragon Blade, and no one would acknowledge that they would have beat and they would have Diva Bomb.
Yep.
And
I would argue too, to be honest, that planning is more important than alt tracking. And as you get good at planning, especially since you guys are already familiar with the idea of alt tracking, you will naturally start to alt track a little bit, because as you make your plan, you'll realize, oh wait, but we need to account for what they have. Because again, last year my team, we worked a lot on communication flow and alt tracking, which was good, but we didn't work very much on planning and timing. And this year, I haven't even started doing alt tracking again with them. Like, we don't alt track because we're just so focused on planning and timing. And already I feel like we're better than we were last year, even though last year we alt tracked pretty well. Because again, alt tracking doesn't matter if no one uses it. And right now, to be honest, you guys aren't really using it. Like you're getting the information, but you're not doing anything with it. So it'd be better to start with doing things and then work your way up to getting information that can be useful. If you can do both quickly, that's fine. But I would focus first and foremost just purely on, hey, we're just worried about our planning right now. All right, so, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. All right, I'm gonna pull up one other clip real quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this from first Li Jiang or second?
This is from first Li Jiang.
Bro, first Li Jiang got shattered in 15 seconds. That was insane.
Mm-hmm.
No,
All
it
right.
was.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not doubting you. I'm not. I was there. I remember.
No, this was the second Li Jiang.
No, this is the first one right here. This is first.
That was first.
I was talking about the second one. Yeah, it's
I see. All right.
Oh, I think I remember this fight.
Yeah. So I'll roll it for just a second.
Out here.
Dude, is this where Hannah almost died to a sim turret on point? No, they don't have a
I'm
sim
sure.
here.
So
No, they don't have a sim.
actually, I need to back up a little bit further.
Back up, back
Baps on point. Your baps on
Hey,
point.
Lucio, kill us, Lucio. Okay, I'm backing out,
Okay, okay.
backing out, back
I'm
up.
getting full charge put backing out here.
Currently close.
Okay. What is our plan for this fight? This is going to be a lot of the rest of this session here. We're going to go through footage. I'm going to ask you that question of what is our plan, and so that you guys can get practice at creating good plans and figuring out how that works. And which seems a little basic, but I promise it'll be useful and it'll not be as easy as you think maybe. So, what is our plan right now?
I don't remember, but we obviously have to. We got to fight with them. We're running, and we got to get up close and personal. We have a Reaper and a
Sure.
Sim.
Sure. I mean, so
Dark
you're,
beam.
yeah, so the first part of your answer is correct. You don't remember. There is no plan. Like, you guys haven't, no one has said anything. So what could our plan be? How could we address this fight?
Due to the fact we have a sim, we're gonna wanna, at least our Ryan is gonna wanna play a little bit slower so
Mhm.
she can build up her beam. Like said before by Hayden, Reaper likes to get up close and personal. If anything, actually, he could probably TP behind them and just kind of pick off either their Ana or their Widow, just to relieve some of that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we play point here, there's absolutely
Sim turrets.
nothing for them to do because they have a
Yeah.
McCree and a Widow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have to get up close to get an angle, and then we deal with them.
Right. Right. Because if both teams stay where they are, who wins? You guys just win for free, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They're in a position where they have to make something happen. You guys don't, and you don't really want to make anything happen, right? Your comp, right? You're playing Rush Sim Reaper. You're completely. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I have to go unlock the back door for my wife. Give me 1 second.
We're basically completely fine with bunkering down.
Yeah, because we
Yeah,
have
no,
sim.
at least I called out in like the first fight. I'm just gonna be like shielding for Symmetra.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I don't know if I did it here.
I'm
Dude.
gonna be honest, y'all, like I need there to be like silence after a team fight so I can alt plan. I mean alt track. Not plan. Alt track.
All right, I'm back.
Like-
I remember, like, I think it's second point Li Jiang. Hannah was so confused as to what was beaming her. There's this like little
Dude,
turret in the bush.
I couldn't freaking find it.
I had
and
to
it
come back
ticked
to
me
point
off.
and peels on you and then kill the turret. I remember.
Wait, I
It's
got a
always the
question.
worst.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If we're all tracking after fights, when do we plan?
Right after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
like, immediately
in an ideal flow, you would alt track in about 5 seconds, and then you would plan. I would say, again, for now, I would just drop the alt tracking and just plan. And then once you've figured
Yeah.
out planning, I would reincorporate alt tracking, because planning naturally takes longer and it's much more important. So I would just, for now, not worry about alt tracking, focus on planning. And then once you're good at planning and what you plan consistently, because the goal is every fight going into it with a plan. Once you've got that down, then try to reincorporate alt tracking. Okay, now can we sneak in our, 5 seconds of alt tracking pre-planning, pre-fight?
Yeah.
It's
Something
it's
that
also
I'll
the
do in
you go.
yeah, okay. I'll go, but something I'll do in ranks is I'll be like I won't necessarily alt track, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
just not great at it, but I'll be like this person is playing like they have this ult.
Yep.
Like if Orion's just openly swinging on you, you know he has shatter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
yeah,
if
I
you
have
can
some.
sneak it in, like if you've got your planning in and then you can point out some key ultimates, or like I said, like once as you start to plan, you guys will naturally bring those things up because you're smart players and you're used to doing some of those things. That's fine. I just wouldn't like focus on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, like after fights, this is what we all do. We all track, plan at the same time, and we all like disagree on like everything.
The
Yeah.
problem is as well, there's like a lot of clutter comms right after
Correct.
fights
Yep.
too, and it kind of it frustrates me in particular
Mhm.
because I can't get my like 5 seconds of alt tracking
Right. Right.
because I can
And
tell you when
It's
they're
more
gonna
like
have
10
an alt.
seconds. It's more like 10
yeah,
seconds.
and that's why I opened with that before everything else was to go. The first thing you guys need to do is to get rid of the clutter, right? Don't say anything that isn't immediately useful to the team. And a lot of that most of that comes from what you're just talking about, is that, okay, between fights we're wasting all this time, we're losing all this time by talking about stuff that just isn't important. Even if it's like relevant to the game, it's not actually important, right? It's like, okay, what's the
Yeah.
most important thing we need to be doing after a fight is planning the next fight. Like what just happened or cooldowns or things like that, like not important. And we can run this fight forward and kind of see an example of that, but it will take discipline on all 8 of you that were there yesterday. I mean, all of however many are on the roster. It does take discipline to only say what is necessary and either mute your mic if you need to rant to yourself a little bit, or whatever you have to do to clear up
Yeah.
comms. It'll take work and effort, but it is important so that you can actually do the things that are necessary.
All right, wait, I have a question. Is it like he's not here, but is it Fahim just doing that after fights?
Uh,
Mostly.
I don't
I
know.
think so.
I don't know.
It's Azaria.
Okay, I'm not sure. We can. I mean, you guys can listen as we run clips forward and tell me. I'm not familiar enough with
Alright.
all your guys' voices to say for sure, but I will say it definitely isn't just one person, even if it's maybe one person's the biggest offender, but it's definitely not just one person. Like yesterday, it wasn't consistently just one person saying
Yeah.
things that weren't necessary. So, all right, so we've kind of established we didn't really have a plan. We talked about, did we talk about what we could do here? Playing slow on point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to watch this forward and say, just watch how we play here and kind of how this unfolds.
Thing would be most likely shatter.
Yeah, they
Oh,
also
wait,
got.
wait,
They
wait,
also
No
wait,
got.
shot this
wait,
guy
wait,
has
wait.
shatter.
maybe
No shot this guy has shatter.
No, he doesn't have it.
I'm gonna
He
blow
was
my
coming
beam.
out. Oh.
Shield low, shield bro.
There you go. He's no
No,
barrier.
No,
They're gonna
no
start playing
projected. Very no projected.
God,
brother.
you
The
are so way too
burst.
fast.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you? Like when you watch how we played right there, how would you describe it?
So
They get
our
antied.
so our Reaper and our Ryan are playing fine. Our Sim's a little bit behind. And that probably
I
should
only
have
got
been.
out because if you go back like 4 seconds or something, I was playing with as soon as Ryan dropped, I backed up to where Sim and
Mhm.
Bap are playing.
Sure, let's just
Did you
watch it again real
Did you have
quick.
Immorphield?
You do get antied, but let's just watch real quick what happens. Is again, describe what it looks like as far as like in general.
Coming out. Oh.
Shield low, shield bro.
There you go. He's no
No,
barrier.
no,
They're gonna
no
start playing
projected. Very no projected.
I think I killed his
So,
Zarya.
yeah, you
Oh,
got
yeah,
the
still really playback.
burst. Yeah, you
Yes.
had
Yeah.
I had lamp, but you got bursted
Yeah.
and anti. But our Zarya has projected and just was not playing with you again.
Why do you think that is? Maybe.
I'm not sure, to be quite honest.
Sure. So it looks to me, I'm gonna mute it and roll it forward as it goes. So, and I'll just kind of describe it as we watch it. So we're here, we're playing slow on point. Our Zarya walks up, our Zarya walks back to get charged. Orion kind of starts to walk up, he walks back. you notice how we're kind of like floating forwards and backwards, and 3 people are still on point while 3 of us have pushed up. We're playing super indecisive, like, oh, are we committing? Are we not? Like, oh, we're going in. Oh, no, we're not. Okay, like this is what it looks like when you're playing, when you don't have a plan of what are we doing, and then 2, kind of that end piece of a plan, or even sneaking into timing a little bit here of like, when are we doing it, right? Because what happens instead, I mean, think back even just to the Gibraltar example. Like, let's just go back and look at the difference to that fight on Gibraltar, which was up here at like 740. And again, I'm not gonna play any audio, but we've called, hey, we're gonna rally when they push the corner. Like, watch just how we play, how we move as a team. Rallied. Okay, obviously we get grabbed, but notice how everyone is in. Like, everyone pushes at the same time. Everyone goes in. No one hesitates on what's happening. You notice the difference there? Like, it looks like 2 completely different teams, right?
Yeah.
It's
I feel like
definitely an
it's like,
error in
yeah,
communication.
I feel like it's my fault because like I'm supposed to be calling out what I'm doing.
I mean, in this specific instance, especially in rush comps where we're kind of in a neutral setting, like, yep, you very much, all you would have to say is like, hey, I want to push into them and just like speed boost engage onto them, right? All right.
Yeah.
Then we're just kind of
Yeah,
waiting. Okay, ready. Okay, waiting. Okay, go. And then everyone can just push forward with you. So again, in this instance, could be you. It could even be the Reaper saying, hey, I want to TP in the back line. Can you speed onto them when I TP? Okay, TP. And then everyone else goes while the Reaper TPs. Like, so it doesn't have to be you. We definitely want the main tank on the same page with whatever the plan is, right? Because again, everyone needs to be doing something at the same time. But right, the Reaper could call that setup, or even let's just roll it ahead. Well, let's see. Let's say
I'm gonna have to go early because my mom does need me for something. So
all good. Do you have to bounce now, or do you have a couple minutes?
I have to bounce now.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you
So
for
sorry about
being
that.
here.
I'll upload what I've had,
Okay.
what I have recorded.
I'm recording it as well, so when we wrap up completely, I can check that and upload it and send it to you if needed.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so
All right,
much.
good luck on your game.
Sure
Hannah.
thing.
Thank you.
Got banned, so I can't play. Oh damn it.
Oh, unlucky. So, right, it doesn't have to be the Ryan necessarily. Like, it certainly can be, but any one of the 6 of you can call the plan, or even the Lucio can just say, hey, I have speed boost. Can we speed onto them? Like, it can be that simple. So let's just run this one forward,
Shot this guy.
or that one we
Signal
pretty
for-
much know happened. So
Play point,
Hey,
man.
yeah,
Oh.
play
Play
point,
point,
Hannah.
play
You could use
point.
it. Hannah, you could use all here. Play point, yeah. Let's see, get some picks.
There you go.
I'm gonna TP.
Red
I'm
low,
gonna
red low.
use it.
even notice here, like, this is right, the fight's already happened and it's 4-on-4, but even here, like, mid-fight having a plan, we play so much more decisively and together. Like, hey, we're gonna window. Okay, we're playing on point. We're gonna play with window, and we're playing with so much more confidence because we know what we're doing.
Block shot, I'll block shatter.
Okay.
I can wall here.
Okay, we end up winning this. We're not really worried about what happens mid-fight because we're just worried about, hey, setting up the first.
There you go, nice.
Just worried about setting up the first 5 seconds of the fight.
Coming
you,
all,
Adam, I
they'll have
appreciate it.
shatter, they'll have window.
Ow.
Grab
They have
will be
grab, they have grab.
All right, back out. Back up.
Grab
Play
will
back
be
up.
seven.
Okay, so again, notice, like, we talked about this a little already, but like, there's just like, Hannah's trying to alt track, other people are saying other things, right? You're calling for a backup now, which is good, but again, we haven't really talked about what are we going to do? How are we going to win this next fight? That's another good way of thinking about planning, is like, not just what are we doing right now, it's like, how are we going to win this next fight?
Playing back up. Playing back up.
Getting
Back up now.
getting charged.
Do they have grab?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let's just talk through it real quick. So who do we have here as far as people who were in yesterday? We have the Sim, we have the Rhine, and the Lucio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Timothy's here, Alex.
Basically my alt charge is low because I talked to a dude who's pretty high rank and he was like, you need to be capitalizing off speed more because usually
Mhm.
I'd amp heals a lot to really get that percentage up.
Sure.
But right now I've just been playing point. I haven't really been, besides killing like
For like
Azaria.
for the plan here,
Or they
like
do
I
much.
don't make a plan because like I feel like when they push up like to where they are now, I feel like the plan is just stay on point and just like protect
Yeah, I
against the
think
retro.
with our
Cause like
comp, I
I
don't
feel
know,
like
maybe
we have that in our minds. Like I don't feel like I have to call it out, but I don't know.
yeah. In
Well,
our
yeah.
comp, I naturally assumed that we were gonna play more like we're gonna play on point just because we have 2 close range DPS.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. Like that's something that you would have presumably talked about outside of you say, hey, when we play Lijiang Night Market, what are we going to do? We're going to sim TP to point. We're going to play on point. So that's your right. That's your baseline plan. How are you going to win this fight? Right. So you've got Shatter, you've got Grab, you've almost got Reaper Alt. Let's just talk through. Hey, how are we going to win this fight? Right, because we already know basically we're going to let them push into us, but eventually we have to commit to a fight. So once we finally commit, what can we do? So just set that up real quick. Somebody make a plan.
Hey, I say they're
can you-
gonna beat after grab, right? And I'm gonna shatter after the Mikos.
there's yeah, we got to do something to bait out their beat
I think
because
we grabbed and then they used beat, then I shattered, then we
Mm-hmm.
won.
Yeah. So like, if let's just say you're in lobby right now, this is the situation. You don't know their alts, or maybe you do because you alt tracked them. How would you call to set up this fight? Right? What are we doing? Where are we doing it? And when are we going to do it? Just start mostly with what and where.
another plan that we could have done that is obviously not baiting out bait by using grab is easier,
Mm-hmm.
but we could have just without using grab, we could have let them push in, break Ryan shield, shatter them, and hard focus to Lucio while he's on the ground
Sure.
because
Yeah. You
then he's
could.
dead.
Yep. You could. The question there then gets into like, what is the best available plan? Right? Is that, can you guarantee that that's how that will go
No,
down? Is
you
that consistent?
can't
Yeah.
you can't guarantee that we're gonna kill that Lucio. He could
Right.
get beat off.
Right. He could get
But
beat. They could block Shatter if we don't break their shield. But right. So our most consistent tool is probably Grav. So how would we call a setup for Grav? Like let's say you're the Zarya. How would you call out this fight?
What he would do or what we're supposed to do.
I'm just saying, what if you're playing the Zarya right now, Mustafa? How would you call this fight? Like your job is to make a plan, right? We talked about this personal responsibility with ultimates. You're
Yeah.
Zarya, you have the Grav. You're going to tell your team what you want to do and then what you want them to do to support that play.
Okay, so I would grab early and see what they do.
Okay, where would you Grav?
Like right before they touch point, like before they push us.
Perfect. So if I was Zarya, that's what I would say. Hey, I want to grab them as soon as they try to push point, and we can punish them on that. Like that's all you have to do is set up a plan here, because that tells everyone, all right, what are we doing? We're grabbing them when they touch, or sorry, we're grabbing them. Where are we doing it? When they touch, and that also gives us the timing too, right? Because if we're doing it based on a specific location, well then we know, oh well, we're going to grab when they get here, so no one has to wonder about, okay, when do I need to use my cooldowns or save my cooldowns? Because the important thing with planning too, that I think I forgot to touch on earlier, is the reason we need to know what we're doing and where we're doing it and when is so that people save their resources for the actual fight, right? Because would we like to have like lamp and shift and amp and reaper fade for the actual fight?
No.
No.
no, why would you not want to have all those abilities for the fight?
What?
No, I mean, like, do we want them to use those abilities right now, or do we want to wait until they walk up and we use grab?
Yeah, we want.
Oh, we want to walk up and use grab.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the reason why planning is important, because we don't want our Reaper to TP into the backline right now and get his shift forced, and then for them to put in grab, right? We want him to have shift and have TP for when the fight actually happens, for when we're actually committing to the fight. So that's why planning is important, because even if it doesn't seem to quote unquote involve, right? Reaper has nothing to do with when you were going to use the grav, but he needs to know that so that he knows how to play and when to play. Same with Sim, like using her TP or turrets. Obviously, those things are all set up right now. Same with our Lucio. Oh, when are we speed boosting, or am I amping heals instead because we're playing close? So that's why planning is important. All right.
I think they do because
They'll
I
be
have
close
it.
though. They'll get it mid fight. They'll get it mid fight.
All right, can I grab
Feel
your
low, feel
3,
low, feel low.
Yeah,
2, 1, go.
Okay, and credit to Fahim, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay, so he does a really good thing that I really encourage as far as like planning and calling goes. He said, "Hey, can I grab here? Can I grab here? All right, I'm grabbing." Like, and he calls it out. Like, so he's helping with the timing piece as far as he calls that. It's just we'd like to know that before the fight even happens. He does it like when he should,
Yeah.
but this should be prefaced by what we just talked about. It's like, hey, I'm gonna grab them when they push up.
Usually it relies on me to tell him this stuff, which I should have, but
Well, honestly, you shouldn't, or you can suggest to him like, hey, can you grab when they push up here? Like we talked about, we don't want to micro everyone, but again, if like let's just say you're a player with more experience, so maybe you can suggest things like, hey, can we grab when they push up here, right?
Yeah.
Or again, if the team decides that we want you to micro those things, that's okay. It's not as optimal as having everyone plan out their own alts, but if that's the way you guys do it, that's fine, as long as we know whose job it is to set things up. All right, so I think we're just going to win this fight, so I'm going to run it forward.
Oh shit! I shouldn't have.
Free swing, free swing.
Big shatter.
Oh my.
They blew those off. They blew those off.
Yeah, but
I have no shatter, no beat.
They have
Window-
they have
They have
Diva for me.
Hanzo
They
instead of
switched
window
off to
now. They
Zarya.
have Real. They have window. They now have
They
a
have
Diva
Diva for
as
me. They
well.
have Diva for me.
Look to DMAC Diva first before we do window fire
Back out,
strike.
back up.
Okay. So I think we did kind of call up a plan here, I think, right?
Back up,
Let's
They have
just-
Diva
Diva for
as
me. They
well.
have Diva for me.
They
Instead of
switched
window
off to
now. They
Zarya.
have Real. They have window. They now have a
They have
Diva
Diva for
as
me. They
well.
have Diva for me.
Look to DMAC Diva first.
Is Timothy here? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Timothy's board. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about what we see right now. What does it look like is happening at this moment?
Run into
He
them.
looked. What is it? What like from? In what way do you like mean that? What do you
Sure.
like?
What
In
way
what
do
way
I
do
mean
you
that?
mean?
Does it look like
what
we're
way
all
do-
we're all on the same page right now?
It looks like
I was
Timothy's
aware.
looking. It looks like Timothy's looking to Death Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was aware that he was trying to do that, but I don't know what happened.
Okay. And what does it look like the rest of us are doing?
Like
We're
waiting for them to
backing-
push up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're backing up out of here, right? So I don't, right? We never heard this called out, or even this necessarily, that we're backing to point. So again, like we're not communicating what the plan to win this fight is. So we're doing different things, right? If we want to Death Blossom early here, we would want to know, hey, I want to Death Blossom. Timothy would just say, hey, I want to Death Blossom them from behind when they push in. And so, oh, okay. The rest of us then know, hey, Timothy wants to do this. So what would the rest of us do to support that play? So let's just imagine,
Play up.
yeah, you would play up, right?
Oh,
You would
yeah,
play up, and then you could push
like-
in, and then Timothy would come from behind.
Yeah, Forest, Sidmore Field, and like, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And again, you'd probably want the front line to go first, and then he would drop afterwards once everyone's distracted. Let's see what happens.
CFK.
I don't know.
Speaking for you out.
Thank you.
Have
Window
wall,
fire check,
wall.
window fire check. He's on the right.
Lamping.
Oh wait.
Huge lamp.
I booped McCree.
Because notice too what happens. Another thing that you guys said to me yesterday, when we talked about what's your biggest issue, what are you working on this scrim, one of the things you said, if I can find it here. I can't find it in my notes, but essentially you said, like, if we want to be the initiators, right? Like we want to go first because it feels like when the opponents initiate on us, you know, we lose because they're taking the initiative, they're going first. And that's what happens here, right? You guys have all the positioning, you have plenty of good alts, right? You have 3 alts to they have High Noon, that's it, compared to Beat, Window, and Reaper alt. I mean, this should be a very free fight win, more or less, for you guys. But because we don't have a plan,
DMAC Diva first before we do.
we don't do anything, right? We just kind of let them walk in and set up on the flank, and right, we don't, no alts. So we have 4 alts now, and boom, they use their 1 before we have used any of our now 4. They're taking the initiative. They have forced lamp. They get a kill. We're forced to use beat. We still haven't really used anything aside from beat responsively. Still, okay, there we use window, but like we're playing reactively, right? We're trying to recover, and we do because we just have more alts, so we're just going to win. but we give them a chance at clutching a fight that they have no business being in.
Yeah.
So
I like
Yeah.
told Hannah to window 5 strike, but she didn't. Like she did it after.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
the issue there is though, like, I don't think we really set that up until like now-ish or like
Yeah,
now-ish.
yeah.
Like we needed to know that right
Here, yeah.
now. Like right now, we need to know what we're gonna do because we have all the tools. So right now, because then because the problem is, right, you called it, but it's mid-fight and maybe she's getting shot in the back, by this McCree over here, so she's distracted, which is why we had to know before the fight happens what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
The reason that I beat it there was it was like, okay, if we LOS this McCree ult, we're just running straight into him, and we're gonna need that extra health.
Yep.
That was sort of
Oh, beating here is
my mindset
fine.
going
I have no problem with the beat here. It's last fight. There's a high noon on the flank. I mean, no reason not to beat here. My issue is not with using the beat. It's just that it's more of, okay, we just didn't play proactive. We didn't plan, and therefore we let them initiate onto us and almost clutch instead of just beating them right here.
Yeah.
And all it takes
Yeah.
is like 10 seconds of talking, and we just win this fight for free. All right, so let's roll it on to the next point here. Let's take a look at one or two more examples because I think
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like at that last point, like who was supposed to call out that like where we're gonna like take this fight like early?
Sure.
Unusual.
So like here, you mean when we're talking about this
Yeah,
fight,
right
setting
here.
it up? Sure. I would say, based on where Timothy is, if he wants to Death Blossom here, he needs to communicate that to the team. Say, hey, I want to drop in and Death Blossom from behind when they push in, right? Or Hannah can say, hey, I want to play on point and window them as they push, or I want to window here early. Or you could even call for window fire strike right here or on point. Again, it's like anybody. Anyone who has an idea of what they want to do to win the fight can call that out.
Yeah.
Like she could have, he could have, you could have. Even like it's less natural for one of the three of them to do it with your tools, but let's just even say our sim said, hey, I want to stuff choke here and just play around this choke. That doesn't technically involve any of these tools, but it's still a plan on how to win this fight. Or even, you could have said, hey, I want to beat aggressively and speed onto them. Right?
Yeah.
So literally it can be any of the six of you. Can
Like
say
in this situation, like
yeah, go ahead.
when we don't have tankles, it's just like I don't know how to plan this.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the point, right? That's why it's important for everyone to be equipped and enabled to plan, because like it makes the most sense for one of the three of these people to plan so that we can plan around their ultimates, right?
Yeah.
Like it's harder for you guys to do it because you're not the ones with the tools. Sorry, my son is rather unhappy. It's time for bedtime. But I mean, yeah. So that would be the answer. Literally, can be any of the one of you, but probably should be one of the three of you.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Good question. Important question. Any other questions about that or about how that should go down? This fight specifically or broadly? All right. All right, let's just look at one or two more examples, and I think you guys pretty much get the basic idea.
Man.
Capture the objective.
Okay, let me know when you want to
Left
speak.
left side.
They have Winston.
Oh, we're taking it. Rotation was bridge.
Left side, left side.
Left side.
We said right.
We said
What?
rotation was bridge,
does.
but okay. I gotta go with my tanks.
Bro,
Yeah, just go with your
Nice,
things.
Alex.
oh my god.
Hey, there's a
Flip, flip, flip.
How's the right side, though?
Okay, so here we just kind of scuff up our opening rotation, but it doesn't matter because Spar just pops off, so...
Who's monkey? Monkey's one.
Also
Monkey's
half-
one.
half-
Help me.
Big bubble.
Although we do
Dude, I got-
almost kind of
The objective
throw this fight away.
Oh my
Okay.
Yours are
god,
up
dude.
though.
Timothy, what the fuck? You're on crack, bro. You straight
No, that was
Bro, that's Alex.
Alex.
Hanzo coming half.
Okay, so let's theory craft here. What could be our plan for winning this next fight, right? Because this is the stage at which we would want to be planning this next fight. So how would we go about that? What can we do? What are our options?
I would say like waiting for them to like get out of position and just barrage them.
Okay. So we could play for barrage. Let's just imagine we don't have barrage here because we don't yet, right? And let's just
Oncoming
Yeah.
half.
let me just run it forward a touch because I don't know if we're gonna get it before the fight starts proper. But let's just say we're not gonna get barrage, right? Just imagine that. How could we win this fight?
I think. Although it's really low,
Hmm.
fast charging ult, we could play for Nano. Like I
Mhm.
think I can if tanks are taking consistent damage, I can get Nano in like 20, 25 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, literally, I would say make space, like dive and make space for Alfira and like go on their Anna.
Okay. Yeah. Let's say no ultimates. We just dive, make space, dive on the Ana, make space for our Farah. Okay, that's kind of the what. Where would we want to do that?
When they get like right in the room.
In the over here?
Yeah.
Okay. So hey, when they get into white room, we want to dive in and hard engage on them, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay. Yeah.
then
So
our
it can be
Pharah doesn't-
that. Yeah. Go
Would our
ahead.
Pharah really have an angle there?
Maybe not, right? But that's a plan, and it's a complete plan that tells us what we're doing and when we're doing it. Or sorry, what we're doing, where we're doing it, and then the when is just called by our monkey. So can we make it a little better, right? So the Farah doesn't have an angle here. Where could we dive them where our Farah would have angle, or where our team would have better angles, right? Because white room's kind of awkward for soldier too, right?
Yeah, I would say like right outside the white room, like
Over
they
here?
enter.
Like on the
Yeah.
rotation, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
right
pretty
there.
good, right? That'd be pretty good,
Yeah.
right? If we kind of speed things up and do right now, right? If we dive in right now, and let's say our soldiers over here poking, our Farah's poking from on top. Yeah, this would be a good plan.
Like right now?
Yeah, right now is great. Their Ana's in the open. It'd be good.
Yeah, they don't have half their team with them yet.
Yeah, I mean they're completely split apart. We're not set up for it either, but that's because we don't know what we're doing, right? We're completely all over the place because we don't know what we're doing. So, and again, this is an example of right. We have no ultimates. We're not always going to have ults, but we still need a plan. Just based around cooldowns or position, or just what are we going to do? Where are we going to do it? We can hard dive the Ana on their rotation. Honestly, this is literally my team's plan for Legion Gardens. We play dive here. If we control the point, we dive every time they try to cross from here to here. This is our plan because it's such a good dive spot. Open space, space to jump away, space for multiple angles. Yeah, good. Let's just run it forward a touch.
Rotating with team.
Here, there you go. I'm bubbling him off.
Hanzo rotating with team.
Let monkey jump us first. Here, there you go. I'm bubbling him off.
Heal me. I need heals.
I'm pushing back.
Yeah, push back, push out.
Alright, do you have bubble for me?
Yeah, I do.
Farah looking to.
3, 2, 1, go.
They're all one now. Monkey's one.
Okay, I'm actually
Back down. Monkey's still one.
Okay, so we kind of just end up winning this fight. We have a better position and we go on a good flank here. One thing that obviously this isn't necessarily pre-fight planning, but this is another thing that's important, and we'll probably leave it at this or look at one or two more examples. The other thing that's most important that goes in tandem with planning is mid-fight action calls, right? We talk about setting up the first 5 seconds of the fight, but then once the first 5 seconds have happened, which the fight started here, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, right? So the fight's devolved, we're just kind of fighting. It's still early pokish phase, but at this point, anytime we want to do something, just like with planning phase, you just call it out, hey, I'm pushing in. Monkey would go, hey, I'm diving in, I'm pushing in. It's very natural for tank to do that. Right now, we would love for our Farah to say, hey, I'm going to push them on the flank and barrage. Just so that everyone knows he's going to do it. Yeah, and that's okay. It'll be something you guys will all have to work on. But anytime you want to push somewhere or make a play, just say what you're doing as you do it or right before you do it so that your team can help you. Or so that your team can support the play. Because hopefully the Mercy would go with you and your team would push in from main at the same time, right? So it's very related to planning. It's almost like a subset of planning mid-fight. There's action calls. What am I doing? What are we trying to do? So let's
Oh shit!
Let's run ahead to this next fight.
So we nano.
Okay, watch.
So let's just again call it up here. How could we set up this next fight? What plan could we create to win this fight? Yeah, let's do this actually. I want to have the Ana. Yeah, we have Nano, so let's have the Ana call the plan because hey, personal responsibility with our ultimates. She should know what we want to do with it. So what do you want to do to win this fight here?
Basically, if they go the same rotation, same plan, except if they dive with the monkey, I'd nano the monkey.
Yep.
If they take bridge, I say we grab that. Because we got 99 on grav.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we knew too that they had Nano Monkey, so I think my job there was to PO for the backline when that happened.
Sure. Right. So, okay, I think we pretty much. So just say you're in lobby again, real quick. Just call that out again as you would in game. What would you say?
I'd say if they rotate white, I'll nano Fahim when he dives in.
Perfect.
And if they rotate bridge, then we grab.
Okay, there you go. Now we know what we're doing. If they go this way, and even better, we have an answer for this and for this, right? Yeah, it's that simple here.
Watch
Let's see what we do, because I think we do call some things, but let's just see what we do here.
Yeah,
okay, watch Nano. Watch Monkey.
I don't know if they have Visor yet, but maybe
Visor will be up. Either close or Yazoo.
We just play off my grab. Play off my grab.
They're going bridge. They're going bridge.
Okay, so we didn't call that, which is fine, but we do call, hey, we're going to play off my graph. So, again, maybe a little late, but again, we're doing it before the fight starts, so that's good.
Do we grab here?
We grab
no, not here, not here.
Monkey in the back line.
Hey, huge trap.
Enemy.
Okay, again, like, we did it that time, right? We planned, we knew what we were going to do, and how does it look like we play off that? Very decisively, very well, very cleanly, right? And we win very handily. So
yeah,
if you guys can do this, and again, like it comes pretty late, but it does happen. But if you guys can plan consistently before every fight, what are we going to do? Where are we going to do it? And then if you can get win as well, when are we going to do it? That's what we're looking for. So what are we doing? Where are we doing it? When, if possible, if you can set that up ahead of time, but maybe you can't, right? It's like, hey, I know what we're going to do and maybe where we're going to do it. And the when just comes from based on circumstance, right? But regardless of that, you need the plan and then you need a clear signal to go, right? Whatever it is to make sure everyone is on the same page and we're, all right, hey, we're going in 3, 2, 1, right? Now we dive. Or hey, we're going to grab when they push in. Okay, when they push in is just dependent on when they go. But then, okay, grabbing, like going in now. Like we just need the plan, and then we need the clear signal. All right, we are committed to the fight. We're going in. Honestly, if you guys can figure out those two things, like you will be so much stronger than you are right now. Like you guys have a lot of good things figured out, but clear up the clutter in front of your comms, right? Get rid of all the stuff that isn't helpful or isn't useful. Hold off on all tracking for now. Just focus purely on, hey, between fights, what's our plan? How are we going to win the next fight? And then, all right, ready? When are we fighting? You know, what's our clear signal to go? You figure those two things out, and you guys will win a lot more fights than you're currently winning. But
yeah.
All right. I gotta head off here pretty quick, but any final questions before I do go about any of the planning stuff or other things?
If you're like put in a situation where you can't really tell your teammates to help you and you're in the moment and you go for something, is that like what do you do then?
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Because for example, that far barrage, I feel like in that situation I just had to go for it, or else they would like go out of the room.
Yeah, and again, I would chalk that up to, again, mid-fight, things are chaotic, and if you can do action calls of, hey, I'm doing this, or I'm about to go do this, that's great. Can't always happen, right? Like, but again, pre-fight, we didn't have barrage, so we couldn't plan around it. We could have maybe said, hey, let's just play slow until we get barrage, but yes, there is definitely room for mid-fight playmaking. Sometimes you just have to do something. That's totally good. I want players to play decisively and to try to make plays. Yes, absolutely. And we want to have a plan before the fight starts. So it's both. It's both and. They're not necessarily exclusive. Because my team definitely did start to fall into that trap a little bit. Is like we were so focused on planning that they started trying to make less plays, or we would get greedy is what I called it. Is like we would try not to use ultimates, or like, oh, I don't know if I should use mine. It's like, no, I still want you to try to make plays and play fast and decisively, but we also need to start with a plan going into things. So it's both. Good question. Other questions?
Are you gonna like coach us ever again?
I don't know. I will have to see. I'm pretty busy with our collegiate teams and stuff, but
Yeah.
I would love to. Honestly, what I would love to do is have you guys work on this for like 2 or 3 weeks. And again, like I worked with this on my collegiate team for the first like 6-7 weeks of this year. We worked on this for a long time, and don't get caught by the trap of getting okay at it and then moving on to something else. Like you really want to make sure you are good and consistent at this before you move on. So I would love to have you guys work this for like 3 weeks at least, maybe even 4, since you only scrim twice a week. Because we practice 5 days a week. So do this
I think
3.
we try to scrim like 3 times a week. So.
Okay, but yeah, work on this really hard as a team for 3 weeks. Do your own reviews of it, work out the kinks, try to clear up your comms, and work on planning. And then I would love to sit in again on a future scrim and see where you guys are at. If I can make time to do that, that would be fun. And then we could talk about what's next.
Yeah. I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips for my Reinhardt?
Do I have any tips for your Reinhardt? Related to what we're talking about, honestly, like call when you want to push and when you are waiting. Like the best thing you can do as a main tank in general is say when you're going in and when you are not. Those are the biggest things.
Anything like mechanical?
Anything mechanical? No, I haven't watched your point of view enough to give you any micro mechanical advice, but honestly, like just from the little I have watched, I'd say mechanically look pretty solid right now. It's probably just more a pacing issue if anything else. So which goes with the yeah for sure. Any other questions?
I have a question. So I was talking to the playing field guys like after the game, and I kind of made a lot of friends with them, and they told me that like they decided to like put all their effort into like focusing me. So like in that kind of situation, like what can you do as like a team to like help somebody who's quote unquote getting focused?
Sure. Is this Timothy talking?
Yeah.
I don't have Discord pulled up. Okay. That's a good question. I mean, a big part when I was watching your guys' game against them, it looked to me like right, planning was definitely an issue there because we weren't always playing decisively and well together, but also positioning sometimes was an issue. They were taking better positions on the maps. But as far as to your question of if you're getting focused down specifically, again, if you're a team that is good at planning, you can counteract a lot of that because you realize, hey, our DPS is getting focused, so here's our plan. We're gonna pocket Borka really hard when he gets dove and focused, and then punish them when they do that. Or okay, we know they're gonna like 3-man dive or commit hard onto him, which okay, if we can't protect him and keep him alive, okay, we're just gonna win somewhere else. So when they hard commit onto him, we're gonna hard commit onto their backline and take a better trade. Right? So it's not a simple just do this or that, right? There's a lot of factors that go into what are the maps, what are the comms, what options do we have for like peeling and supporting you or just taking better trades. Yeah, that's the best answer I can give as far as that goes. Planning will honestly help mitigate a lot of that, because again, like, if you know what you're gonna do, then
They don't have like the time to
yeah,
like
it takes care of a lot of that, or it gives you a much better opportunity, and then you can start to figure out some of the, okay, since we know what we're doing and maybe this isn't working, what adjustments do we need to make within that? But if you're getting hard focused, big thing you can do is, have your team support you, again, through making plans to have them support you, or as an individual piece, play in positions that make it a lot harder for them to punish you, or for them to be punished if they try to hard commit and focus you. Because good teams will do that, right? Like, we did the same thing in some of our playoff matches last year. We scouted our opponents, said, hey, they have a couple of really strong players. We want to play in such a way or in compositions that make life really difficult for them. But at the same time, like, if the playing field is level, which obviously it isn't always, good macro play can counteract good individual play, right? Which is maybe an example of like what happened to you guys on Wednesday, of like, hey, they're going into the game with the plan of, we're just going to hard focus down their strongest DPS player potentially, or their carry hit scan, and that's our plan.
Wait,
and
that was their plan, or they're doing that now, Timothy?
That was like after this like scrim
Yeah.
and everything. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So not in that
Yeah,
game
'cause
necessarily.
I don't think it was in that
I
game
don't think they
necessarily.
have the. I don't think they have the mechanics and game sense to do that, to the point where it worries us.
Sure. Yeah, I honestly, I wouldn't be too worried. I think if you guys fix this, like, it'll mitigate that being an issue necessarily. Or if it's something you have to work around, you'll be good enough at planning to come up with a solution.
Well, okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your team's just getting diffed, like just diffed, like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. If it's a scrim, all you can do honestly is say, okay, we just need to simplify things. What's the one thing we're going to work on? Because in scrims, winning and losing doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is, are we improving? Are we making progress and getting better? That's all that really matters.
What if it's like in a game?
In a game, you just, again, try to simplify. Just be like, okay, this fight, what are we going to do? Again, like, what are we doing this fight? How can we win this fight? And just do the best you can. And sometimes you'll just get diffed, and it's like, all right, we'll just have to figure it out in a review. Sometimes that just happens. But the most important thing you can do in scrims and in games is just control what you can control. There's three things: attitude, effort, focus. In a match, in a scrim, you as an individual can only control those three things for yourself. You can't control your opponent's play. You can't control how your teammates play. You can't control their attitude, effort, and focus. You can encourage them to keep those things high. But for you, all you can do is keep those three things high. And this for me was the crux of my team for the first 3 weeks of this season, is they struggled to worry about themselves and work on their own individual attitude, effort, and focus. And they got distracted and flustered by all kinds of things that would happen to them, or fights that we would lose. Like, no. Don't worry about any of that. Just worry about your own play and keeping those three things high. And once they finally figured that out, they were able to hang in there on maps and scrims where they were losing or getting beaten down or getting diffed or taking a pretty even fight, and not crumble mentally and hang in there. So, all right, I love the questions, but I do have to run off to get my Rocket League tryouts started.